Nicholas Dawkes is one of London's leading headshot photographers and has specialised in shooting headshots for the last 15 years.
He is the current chairman of the Association of Professional Headshot Photographers and a strong voice within the industry, carrying a wealth of knowledge working with the UK's top actors and agents.
Shooting from his studio based in West London, he captures a range of headshot styles in both natural and studio light, tailored to the needs of his clients, and focuses on bringing out their true personality and honestly representing their casting in their headshots. Hello, Nicholas. How are you today?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Love the way I just called you Nicholas and we spoke about this. I was like, Nicholas or Nick? You said Nick and I say Nicholas. So it's just a fantastic
one of those,
start.
No, it's one of those things that I've always been Nicholas Dawkes Photography, but nobody calls me Nicholas, so you can call me Nick. Absolutely.
Brilliant. I will for now on, we will continue with Nick. Lovely. Let's crack on. Today we're talking to you on an episode of The Essentials. We wanted to cover headshots because we believe it's something every single actor needs to do, and writers get headshots, directors get headshots. It's something that everyone in our industry needs to do, and there's so many questions that everyone always has about them, and we wanted to get to the bottom of that, and we thought there would be no one better to talk to than yourself.
Great.
Lovely.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those things that it can get overlooked a lot of the time, and I think people don't really put enough emphasis on a headshot. That it's such an important piece of marketing going out. So it is definitely a vital thing, and it's great that you guys are covering that, because I think a lot of people are a bit scared and confused by it.
I totally agree. I was before I had my first shoot, as it were. I'm not sure if Christian was the same.
Yeah, I was terrified.
Yeah.
You're just like, yeah.
Well, let's start with a simple one and ask you, what is a headshot?
So I guess in the realms of the creative industry, a headshot is, it's a calling card in a way. An actor's headshot essentially is a photo of an actor for casting purposes. You're trying to allow a casting director to get an idea of what you look like, but also at the same time sometimes to give an idea of what your casting is. So it's such an important tool to get you through the door in the first instance. And I guess, if we were to broaden that across the industry, when you get to directors and you get to, other people within the creatives, then it's the same thing in a way. It's that calling card, because people want to see what you look like. We're such I think human beings can be broken down into so many fundamentals sometimes, but the visual is such an important thing that we do every day. We look at people and we gain whether we can trust them or whether they look like a certain thing, and that's kind of built into the way that we interact as human beings. So the headshot is a kind of instant representation of that, I guess.
Totally.
Yeah, I know casting directors sort of get an instant impression of actors straight off the page, and they've got so many headshots on their laptop and they're just looking for someone that stands out. What makes a good or bad headshot with that in mind?
I think a lot of the time, a good headshot for me, because the trouble is when it comes to anything to do with headshots is everyone wants to kind of throw their opinion in the hat. So I think that's where a lot of the confusion comes from. And I think from my point of view, a good headshot is something that has an honest likeness of you. Something that can be welcoming or can lead to a certain casting type, if it's for an actor's headshot. And I think a bad headshot a lot of the time is it's almost the opposite of that. Is something that's unrepresentable, that doesn't look like you, that's over retouched. My ethos has always been that a headshot needs to look like you on a slightly good day. So it's not you on an amazing day, because inevitably, if you walk into an audition, you've just missed a bus, or it's rained, or loads of things have happened. You're not going to walk in looking perfect with all your makeup and everything. And I think that instant moment that you walk into the room and they look up from your headshot, there has to be a likeness to you coming into the room. Whereas if your headshot is perfect and glamorous and over retouched, and then you walk in, there's only going to be a sense of disappointment that they didn't get this thing that they're looking at on the page. So it has to be honest to some degree, I think.
Yeah, I knew I should have laid off the makeup on my headshots.
And I knew I should have put more on, but we'll move on there.
Lipstick was too much, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I think a huge thing is you know, especially when you're in second year at drama school, there's that sort of month or so where everyone in the year is booking with a headshot photographer. It's a bit like the talk of the town, as it were. It's a very weird period of time in second year. Everyone's going, who are you going to? Who are you getting your headshots with? Oh, I'm going to this person. How do you think actors should go about selecting a photographer to go to? Because there's so many factors that go into that decision.
I think a lot of the time you've got to knock out that vanity thing. Drama school is a great example, because what happens is, you know, a lot of the time you get one person goes to a photographer, comes out looking absolutely stunning and amazing, and everyone goes, wow, you look so hot, this is amazing, I'm going to book with them because I want to look really hot too. And then you get this thing going through where everyone just wants to get this photo that makes them look amazingly hot, and they put it on Instagram, put it on social media, and everyone's going, oh, OMG, you know, emoticon, flame emoticon, babes, you look you know, it's just like, it becomes this kind of self-fulfilling vanity thing, which is not, it's kind of almost the opposite of what a headshot should be. So the selection process, there's so many photographers out there now. It can seem like a bit of a minefield, but a lot of the time what I say to people is you've got to find a photographer you feel comfortable with. So when I guess you start from their style. So you find a photographer whose style you like. Not necessarily they have beautiful people, but they have something about their photos that attracts you to their photography. And then read their website, find out what they're like as a person, because it's a very personal thing having a headshot done. I think it's really one-to-one. So it's difficult to if you go with a photographer, for example, that's, you know, really closed off and quite bitter about their life, and, you know, they might take an amazing photograph, but you're going to feel horribly awkward for that process. But you can, a lot of the time, just about the way that people write on their websites, the way that people kind of present themselves on social media, you can get a good feeling, I think, for what they're like as a person, because I think you're going to find that helps when you get in the room.
Yeah, I agree with you on that front. The idea, because obviously I look at it from an actor's perspective, I forget that obviously the photographer is trying to present themselves in a certain way that'll make themselves appealing to the customer, as it were, and an anxiety before you go see a photographer to get your headshots done was, you know, it's definitely primary in my mind whenever I go have my photo taken. I find I don't like it, but you know, I had my headshots done with yourself, and you made it such a lovely, welcoming experience. But you don't know that a lot of the time before you get in the room, depending on what the advertisement is from the photographer's point of view.
Yeah. And it's
What
different.
do you
It's always, I was just going to say, it's always different per person as well. That's the thing. You've got to, I think part of the skill of being a good photographer is being able to gauge your client when they walk in the room in that first 10 seconds. If they walk in petrified like a mouse, there's no point you being abrupt and saying, right, come on in, right, put your stuff there. You've got to kind of take it on their level, and the same when you get someone bouncing the room full of energy, overly confident, you've got to kind of up your confidence and your level. So there's a real skill, I think, in gauging where your client sits and making them feel comfortable.
Yeah, I'd really never thought about it that way, actually. It's the people skills involved, a bit like well, whenever you walk into an audition, you try and gauge what, you know, you obviously want to go in at a level of confidence and a level of belief, but you always want to gauge how you socialize in the room with whoever's behind that table based on your first impressions.
Yeah, how many times have you walked into an audition and the casting director has been sat there with a sour face, and it puts you on your back foot straight away? You know,
I mean, that's normally when I leave, but it's anyway. Yes, I totally. What I was talking about anxiety before you have your photos taken. What do you recommend actors who are very anxious about getting their photos taken do both before and during their headshot session?
I think the before has to be preparation, really. It's so key when you're going into a headshot shoot, just knowing where you want to go with the shoot. You know, it comes down to things like, you know, knowing what your casting is, knowing what you want to reflect in your photographs. And also I think the anxiety a lot of the time comes from the vanity thing again, of you fear that you're not going to look your best, you fear that you're going to look awkward, and then that feeds your anxiety even more. So you almost have to, sometimes I say to people, you have to come in almost like you're acting a role of a confident actor going for headshots. You know, you have to come in pretending that everything's going to be fine and we're just going to get on with it and take some photos. Because if you let the anxiety take over, then you end up looking nervous and tense, and it takes a long time for me as a photographer to then get you to relax. Some people, my shoots are about 2.5 hours long, 2 to 3 hours long, and sometimes it's not until 2 hours in that I actually see someone properly relax. And that's with me, on my top A game, really trying to get them to relax and, just feeding them, some nice calming thoughts and things. And then suddenly you just see it drop after 2 hours. But if you can come in having tricked yourself already, that everything's going to be fine today, I'm going to take a photo, it's going to be brilliant, I trust the photographer, then it will really, really help that. Because, it's funny, some of the best shots I think I've ever taken have been when, someone's just looked away and then looked back to camera. And in that moment, they weren't really thinking about much. They were in the moment, but they weren't thinking about the moment. And I think that can be the key sometimes.
Yeah. I think that's really great advice. I remember a photographer doing that to me, and I must have looked away and looked back at the camera about 300 times in a row to get what he wanted. I was like, am I doing something wrong? Or
it's almost like it's like pressing a reset button, I think, sometimes when you look away, because something catches your eye and you think, oh, there's a window, and then you look back and it takes a moment to adjust, and there's such an honesty in that half a second, which is really beautiful sometimes. But I think the other thing on preparation is probably having a good understanding of what your face is, and that can only come from looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, my left eye is slightly smaller than my right, my eyebrows are wonky, one ear sticks out. It's all of those things that we don't like to accept. I've got some double chins, and your photographer will, if it's something you're really conscious of, that your photographer can do small things to alleviate, if you've got one ear that truly does stick out a massive amount and you don't want it to be that obvious, then they can kind of do angles and things to help that. But until you understand that, then every photo you're going to look at of yourself, you're not going to like. So there's a moment. This is why I love shooting older actors as well, because they've been around the block. You get an actor in their 50s, and they've lived with their face for 50 years, and they know exactly what it is, and they're not even thinking about that anymore. There's a certain amount of disregard for their look, and then they can get on with actually just focusing on the shoot.
Yeah. Speaking of knowing your look, how important do you think it is for an actor to know their specific casting when they're going to get their headshots done? Do you get actors come in the room and say, I'm the leading man, so it needs to look like this? Or do you...
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to that coin, really, because I think you get a lot of people that come in that know their look, and then we work on that, and it's a good base to start from. And you can talk about casting. I always discuss casting with clients, and then sometimes if you want some more character-based shots, then that feeds into that. But it can go the other way when people have a real misunderstanding of their look, and they come in saying, I am a leading man, and you're thinking, actually, the guy I shot yesterday was a leading man, and in comparison, you're not quite that. It's a hard, and I'd never say you're not a leading man. You're not good looking enough or whatever for that. Leading man's a bit of a funny one, because leading man in traditional sense was always the kind of James Dean, really good looking, handsome guy. I think now it probably breaks down into different categories. So you would have it would probably be listed as something like this. It would be the good looking guy rather than the leading man, because if you look at all TV, leading men are obviously all different shapes, sizes, everything changes. So, but I do think there is a huge misunderstanding sometimes, but that almost sets us back 20 paces at the beginning of the shoot, because then I'm at the point where I have to get them to almost understand what they look like, and then try and explain what their casting really is. Going forward. But that thing of coming in saying, yeah, I think I am the good looking Brad Pitt casting, a lot of the time comes from them thinking it themselves, and their mum thinks they're really good looking, has always told them they're good looking, whereas actually if they took a survey of all their friends and said, look, honestly, what do I look like? If they're good enough honest friends, they would probably say, you're fairly good looking, but you're not that good looking. Do you know what I mean? It's so it's really difficult. There's a certain amount of honesty that you need to get from an external source, not just internal. You can't just think I am good looking, because I for years I've thought I'm good looking, but I know I'm not, compared with a chart of very good looking people. So it's difficult.
It's all about the personality.
It's all about that. That's what I've been using for years. It's fine.
Have there been moments, Nick, where you've been having photo shoots with actors talking about casting type, where they've been, quite vague, or they're not entirely sure themselves, and either because of a certain photo that they go and have a look at on the monitor, or because of a bit of direction from you, it's opened them up to a whole new casting type that they'd never thought of, that they go, oh, I never thought I could play that, but look at me right there. That's that.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the fun of it, really, as well, because you discover these amazing little things throughout the shoots. I do a lot of directing with clients when they come in, so I'll give them scenarios, I'll give them characters based on what they've told me about casting and stuff, and it sometimes leads you down a completely different route. What's amazing, sometimes I had a client recently like this who he was talking about. Funny enough, he was talking about this whole quite good looking casting, quite handsome, athletic, and all of this stuff, which he was. But when I started directing him, he just started looking really dark and sinister in all his shots. He had this like internal moodiness going on, which was amazing, and it was almost the opposite of what he had told me. And we just discovered this. And then when he saw the shots, he goes, "Oh my goodness, that's amazing! I'd love to play those kind of characters." And I said, "Well, your face is there. You've got what it takes. And if that's something that excites you, then there's a whole nother avenue to go down." So there is a certain amount, I think, within a headshot shoot of a process of like exploration and finding things, and not necessarily. That's why that going back to the whole preparation, coming to your shoot really prepared is great, but don't lock it in stone. Have a certain amount of freedom within there, have a loose blueprint, and then kind of go from there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of preparation, what essential bits of clothing do you think actors should bring? Because I usually get told plain black t-shirt, grey, and a shirt or a blazer or something like that. And
and the day glow lycra and the
lycra.
It's clothing is such a personal thing. It's hard to. This is the question I probably get asked the most. What shall I bring? And it's unless I have met you, because even seeing a photo of you, I don't know how honest that is. Depending on your skin tone and your hair color, and hair color can be deceptive in different lights, and people change their hair color all the time. So you want to bring clothes that reflect you, your look, your skin, and your body shape. Remember, if it is a headshot, and sometimes some photographers take slightly longer shots, so it's not just up at the top. They might shoot half body or full body, so that's a whole nother thing. But if we're talking just headshots, we're only looking at the top half of your t-shirt, jumper, whatever it is you're wearing. So think about your neckline. Think about what's happening up the top. Don't worry about the frilly bit at the bottom or anything like that. Think about what it says to your frame, your body. Some people wear stuff that's either too restrictive, and you're coming with like this big fluffy jumper turtleneck that kind of reaches right up to your chin, or someone's coming with a really plunging low top. It's almost too much. It's like you're either blocking yourself off too much or you're showing too much flesh. So I think it needs to be something that you're comfortable in. I always say stuff that people have complimented you on. I've got stuff that I wear, and people always go, "Oh, you look great in that top. Well, that's a really nice color on you." That's always a great start. I've got blue eyes, so blue looks really good on me. Things like that is worth thinking about. And with clothing, I would say your best sort, if you're truly confused and you just think, "What the heck do I wear?" Just go and look at other people's headshots that look like you. If you've got red hair, go and look at every headshot you can see of someone with red hair and see what they're wearing and see what reflects well. If you've got really dark features and dark hair, go and see what they're wearing. Just kind of build up a little bit of a portfolio of other headshots that you like the feel of with people that look like you. I think it's a good start.
And no logos, right?
And no logos. I mean, small logos can be retouched out. They can be photoshopped out, so it's not the end of the world. But busy logos, big Adidas across your front's probably a no-no, unless it's for a character purpose. You want something that looks a bit sporty, athletic top. But generally patterns, try and keep them fairly minimal. I wouldn't go crazy on the big floral designs and things. The black, you said about the black t-shirt, and I think black is a fail-safe for a lot of people because it is neutral, it is dark, and what dark colors tend to do is they draw people up to your face instantly. As I say with clothes, you want to wear a piece of clothing that will suggest something, but you don't want them to linger on it. So you want them to look at it, gather something from the top, but then focus on your face. And that's going back to patterns. That's my rule on patterns. If I was to crop if I was to go nipple above nipple on your top, would I be able to work out what the pattern is? And if I can't, then don't bother, because people are going to be really confused by it. So yeah, keeping it simple, but also, reflecting casting. I have a lot of clients bring layers of things. So whether it's a shirt over a t-shirt or a jacket over a t-shirt or a jumper, things like that to layer up can be quite good, because they can add a bit of texture and add a bit of layering. But
sorry, carry on.
I was just going to say, it's personal. Clothing is such a personal thing. I wish there was one answer for everyone, but there really isn't. But the best bit of advice is always, look at other people's work and other headshots that are similar to your casting, I think.
Yeah, I really like that idea of looking at people that look similar to you on headshot photography sites or on agent sites, because for people that, maybe aren't really confident on Instagram or social media, where posting selfies all the time, or very confident looking, seemingly whatever the word attractive means in clothing, and it can be quite a daunting experience for someone that may not have the biggest wardrobe, or have their own selfie angle or whatever. So that's a really good tip for people like that, and which
another
includes
good
myself
one is,
to go.
Yeah, I was going to say Pinterest is a great one as well.
Yeah,
because you can just type in, redhead actor headshot, and it will come up with a whole load of redhead actor headshots, whatever it is. So it's a good one.
That's fantastic. You said as well, the one of the most common questions you get asked is about clothing. What is the one note that you find yourself giving every single actor that you photograph?
Open your eyes. No, it'd be. It's a lot of the time. It's breathing. Weirdly, people don't tend to breathe. Certainly not at the beginning of the shoot. People, as soon as that camera gets lifted, they hold their breath. So a lot of the time, I'm conscious. Why I'll get people to look away in between shots and things, to consciously take a breath in between, because it relaxes you at the same time. And I think also lean in. Like, I get people to lean into the camera a lot, because there's a certain amount of fear, I think, with that camera. I don't know how you guys feel, but that big piece of machinery held up in front of you that you have to stare at. There's a feeling sometimes you want to lean back and kind of, you're not quite sure what to do with it.
Shy away a bit.
Shy away, yeah. As actors, you're used to not looking at the camera. You're told not to look at the camera most of the time. So suddenly someone goes, right, look straight at that camera. It's a weird feeling. And at the other side is a photographer who you only met, 20 minutes earlier. It's a really difficult thing to make a connection. So a lot of the time I get people to lean their body in a little bit, because then even if they're feeling slightly insecure about it, there's a certain amount of confidence that comes with your body language by leaning in. Because in life, if we trust someone, we tend to lean in towards them. If we're listening or we're talking to someone, we'll lean in. Unless you're having a fight, and then you might lean back a bit.
Back away a bit, yeah. Well, unless you're Anthony Joshua, that is.
Well, yeah, you definitely probably want to lean in. I think the other thing, though, actually, that I tend to, my kind of, I guess, the do's and don'ts is, bring energy, lean in, keep breathing, and don't take yourself too seriously. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, people always tend to kind of take themselves a little too serious when it comes to headshots. Like, they're coming in thinking that they are something they're not. It's something I've coined the twactor. It's this feeling of, coming into the room like you're way more important than everyone else in the room, and that everyone should stop and, look at you because you're incredible. Which is not a very it's not a very endearing thing sometimes. It's okay if you come in and you are, this huge A-list celebrity actor with an entourage, then you can carry that off. But if you're coming in, as a graduate from drama school,
with your bus pass,
trying to take yourself too serious, I think it just gives off completely the wrong impression. So a lot of the time, I want people to come in the room as themselves. I love what I call the kind of the awkward clowns that come in, and like they'll trip over as they walk in the door and kind of give off a goofy laugh and be like, "Sorry, I'm such a klutz." You know,
Did
that's
Matt do that?
yeah. It's just it's such an endearing thing. I think it's such a human. There's a lovely human nature to that. Whereas, you know, someone coming in with their eyebrows slightly furrowed, kind of looking straight past you out the window longingly saying, "Hi, yeah, I'm here for my headshots." You just kind of go, "Oh, I don't really know who you are. Like, that's not a real human."
You know what they
know a
need? 4
twactor.
years
We
working
all
in.
know a twactor.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say 4 years of graduating, working in Costa Coffee. I'll knock that out of you.
No, absolutely. And actually, I didn't walk into a door. No, I was far more tragic than that. I had to ask Nick not to bring his dog in because I'm allergic to it. So that's the level that I went down to.
Yeah,
Your
he
famous
was straight
allergy.
at the bottom of the pile after that.
Oh,
Poor
such a
bastard.
shame.
Story.
What is the biggest myth surrounding headshots? Because as we mentioned, the sort of second year drama school conversations that happen in the halls or whatever, or when you're out in the industry, and if you maybe don't live with a house full of actors, then sometimes you just hear sort of echoes in the wind of, oh, this happened at my headshot session, or everyone's doing this with headshots now. Or are there any big myths in headshots?
I don't know. I think there's so many different styles and things now. I think there isn't really that many. I think probably the biggest one is that it's just a headshot. I think people go, "Well, it's just a headshot," or you know, I get a lot of clients come in, especially talking about those graduates getting headshots. I get a lot of people that they've gone home for the summer. Their uncle's gone, "I'm a photographer. I'll take your headshot," and their uncle is a wedding photographer. And then they've gone back to school, and their college has gone, "We can't use these. You need to go and actually spend some money and get some professional headshots." So I think that thing of people presume that it's just a photo of your face, whereas I think a headshot for me has a lot more connection in it, has a lot more going on. You know, at the end of the day, you're trying to make yourself attractive to someone, and that's not attractive in a beauty way, but just there is something about that shot that makes a casting director attracted to you, and it's hard to get if someone's just like, "Great, stand there, just going to take a photo, brilliant, yeah, turn to the left, take a photo, brilliant." You know, that's what I would call a portrait a lot of the time. You know, someone just being just there on their own. But whenever we are being, and I certainly know when I'm sat on the sofa watching Netflix, I am just being. I look bored. I look bored, and I look, you know, dull. I don't look attractive. So I think certainly there's a bit of a confusion sometimes. It's mainly when you're early on in your career, because I think once you've had your professional headshot shoot, you understand the difference. But it can be a bit of a myth.
Yeah, I had that with my first ones. I definitely went in the room thinking it was just a picture, and just had to look good, and that was about as far as it went. And then on my next headshots, it was she wanted the story behind my eyes and that. And then when you look at headshots on Spotlight, the ones that stand out, you can there's almost a story behind the eyes, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think for years, people always say to me, "I love your shots because there's just something in the eyes," and I always think, I don't. Okay, thank you. I don't really know what
Yeah.
you're suggesting, but I think it's because I direct people. That's probably what they're talking about, is that energy, that story, that connection.
Yeah, you bring it out in them. Nick, when graduates leave drama school and when they're in their third year, they get their headshots done. And then when they sign with a new agency, a lot of the time the agent will say, "Can you get new headshots? I don't like them ones."
Yeah.
What's your view on that? Because it's obviously
Yeah.
quite expensive to get
Happens
them done.
all the
Yeah,
time.
they go, "But I've just had them done." Or they go,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, great. Thanks for signing with us. We'd like you to get some new headshots." "Oh, okay. Well, who do you want to go with?" "Well, you know, we recommend Nicholas Dawkes." "I've just had them done with Nicholas Dawkes." You know,
Yeah.
it's that thing sometimes that there is some agents have they want to have a standardized approach to their marketing with their actors. So they want all of their actors to look slightly linear in their style. So it can be that. It can be that they know, and I certainly know the agents that recommend me, it's because they trust that I will get something out of their clients, that I'll explore their casting, and I'll kind of get those shots that they know they can use. But I would say a lot of the time, advice would be for those actors signing with an agent, if they do say, get some new photos. Just get them give them the login to your gallery, or talk to your photographer, because a lot of photographers will have gallery systems that they can just attach the agent to. Get them to have a look at that, because it can be really expensive if they're only 5 months old or whatever, and then suddenly you're having to go and get a whole new batch. It's a lot of money. So give them the gallery. They might look through and find shots that you hadn't chosen, and then you're saving yourself a whole lot of money. But a lot of the time, like I said, it's just they try and get a standardized approach. I always find it a bit funny that most casting is done through Spotlight, the Spotlight link, and then there's some agents that will want all of their clients from the same photographer because it looks good on their website. And I think, how many casting directors are going to specifically look at your website? Maybe some of the bigger agencies, but certainly not the small boutique agency that's got 20 people. They're not going to be going out their way to go and look at their website, look through all their clients. So that's more of a vanity thing from the agents. I think that they want everything to look real pretty on their website. So I mean, obviously, don't get into a fight with your agent, but I would offer up some galleries and see what they think.
Well, I wonder if, mentioning that a standardized approach to how they want their clients to look, or at least appear, I wonder if it might be a way to approach an agent where if you go on their website and you check all the Spotlight links for all their clients, if there is that one photographer, then, maybe you might be able to get that one agent's attention going with that one photographer. I don't know if that's a really long-winded and expensive process, but it's just a thought that popped into my mind.
I like the gamble on that, Matt.
That's an all-on-red kind of approach, isn't it?
Sneaky,
to getting
yeah.
So when should you get new headshots done then? What do you think is the moment where you should be looking to do that?
I think really it's probably anything between probably a year and a half to 2.5 years, really. But it depends on how much you change your look, because I mean, I've had returning clients that I've shot year after year, and they haven't changed. I had a guy recently actually who came in after 10 years and he looked exactly the same. And I was like, you haven't changed. He went, yeah, I just can't have that headshot doing the rounds anymore. I've got to get some new ones out because people are bored of that headshot. But he hadn't changed at all. And I think guys tend to have headshots done a bit less anyway, because we don't change our style as much, and we were a bit lazy, really. I haven't changed my hairstyle in about 15 years, but I think girls go through different cuts, lengths, colors, different makeup, different eyebrow shapes, things like that affect how often you have headshots done a bit more for females. So I think for women, it tends to be probably a year and a half-ish to 2 years. I think for guys, on average, probably 2 to 3 years. But it's essentially, if you think of a headshot as your calling card, imagine sending that card out solidly for 3 years. I'd be pretty bored of seeing your face, I think, after 3 years. I think in the back of my head, I'd be thinking, I've seen this guy so many times.
Go away.
And I still don't want to cast him. I think sometimes, a change of headshot can be, not only is it really good for your casting, personally, but I think it gives your agent a bit of a fire up their backside, because you go, hey, look, I've got some new headshots. Fancy sending these out? Or, they go, oh, that's great. Oh, brilliant. Matt's just got a load of new headshots. Let's see what's out, because it'd be great to send him out on the new ones.
Yeah, being proactive.
Yeah, it can just be a good thing to fire your career up if you're kind of getting a bit like, you're coming out the end of lockdown and COVID and thinking, crikey, where do I go from here? Not that anyone wants to go and spend money on new headshots, probably, but it can be the thing that reboots your career sometimes. And also your casting changes. The older you get, the more your look changes. The more haggard you look, the more wrinkly you look. It puts you in different brackets. So that can be a really positive thing sometimes.
Yeah, the aging process is. It was my birthday the other day. I'm not enjoying the decline.
Hey, look, think about the casting. It's going to open up so many doors.
That's true. I'm just thinking, the more graduates that fall away, the older I get.
There is a certain amount of longevity in this industry. I think that people they fall by the wayside a lot, and I think the longer you can stick it out, a lot of the time, the more castings open up, because the pool gets smaller, and your look gets more unique and more specific. When I go into drama schools and do talks on headshots, sometimes I'm sat in a room of 60 students, and I kind of look around thinking, about 20 of you look the same. There's no way to differentiate you. And if you came into a shoot, I'd have to really break it down and try and work out where you fit in the industry, because you look like a, white skinned, brunette haired, standard, quite good looking, it's just, where do you fit? So I think sometimes when you get a bit older and your look changes, it's a really positive thing.
Yeah, I think that's where I've been struggling, because I look naturally quite young, and then I get 500 graduates every year coming out. I mean, I was once described as impish, which I swear was an insult, but we won't go there.
Yeah, I didn't mean it. Sorry.
I obviously had a look at your website before we had a chat. I had a revisit, and you say on there that every face is different. What do you mean by that?
I think, from my point of view, it's probably the reason I do this job, because every face is different. It's just incredible how, and there's me saying I can sit in front of a room of however many people and think they look the same, but actually, if I break someone's face down into the shape of their eyebrows, the way they inflect, and their eye shape, the eye color, like everything is truly unique, which is a really beautiful thing. And it's my job, or it's a photographer's job, especially headshot photographers, to bring out all of those features in your face that work for you. Sometimes if you've got a big conky nose on you, I've got a bit of a conk on me, use it. It's great. And that's a good selling point, because you might not like your side profile, but you're not going to, if you get a telly job, you're not going to say to the cameraman, sorry, can you only shoot me straight on, please? I only want to, whenever you're filming, never film me side on. So, I love those quirky features on people. I remember a guy years ago, and I wish I could remember his name, but he came in, and I said to him at the beginning, I said, right, so break it down a bit. Where are we casting wise? And he said, I play freaks and weirdos.
Brilliant.
And I just high-fived him. I was like, let's crack on. This is awesome. Because he looked really odd. He had these huge goggly eyes, and his ears stuck out, and he was receding on top, and he just looked bizarre. And I just thought, that's amazing. And I loved him for that. And the shoot was brilliant, because he understood
the image I've got in my head of this creature coming into your studio. Can we just clarify, we're not talking about my shoot then? This was not me.
No, it wasn't that awkward. Goggly looking, don't worry.
Not that.
No. Oh my word.
Nick, how do you? Sorry,
go,
Matt, go
Christian.
ahead.
You go. Go on.
I'll go. All right. I was going to ask how you go about picking the headshots you want editing when you're going through 500 of them. It's so difficult.
Yeah. Like a lot of the time, I'll do a narrow down before I put a gallery up for people, because it's a waste of time otherwise. So I'll probably get it down to like 150 to 200 maybe. And my biggest thing is write a shopping list. This is my big tip. Write down, and this is before you even open the gallery, write down a shopping list of what you want to get. So break down your casting brackets. So you can say, right, I want something that looks like, the creepy guy next door that you're not sure you can trust, but it turns out he's a nice guy. I also want something that can be a young professional, bit of a city worker. I want something that is, boy next door loves his nan, whatever it is. But write down that shopping list, and then give each one a name. So go through the first one is called Steve. The second one is called Jeff. But go through, give them a name, and then look through the gallery one character at a time. And obviously within there will be a kind of, almost like we say, I hate the word, but neutral shot, something that is just you, it's relaxed, might have a bit of a smile. But if you can base those other shots off your shopping list, that they have some sense of casting and sense of character behind them, it just puts them into really specific brackets. And it also, the reason I say give it a name is because you're then looking for Steve, and you're looking for Jeff, and you're not looking for Matt and Christian. Because that's when the vanity kicks in. As soon as you go, right, I'm going to find Christian now, you go, oh, I've never liked Christian's left nostril, or something really stupid and vain that no one else cares about. You want to find Jeff, the creepy guy next door, or whatever it is. So that's always my biggest tip, is like get your shopping list. Like, you'd never go into a supermarket just not really knowing what you want. You want milk, bread and cheese, and then you might throw in avocado. if you're a hipster. And some, I don't know, soy milk, and I'm describing all the things in my fridge, so I don't know what that says. Yeah, so that's my big tip, really, when it comes to picking.
Who do you think is the best person to ask for advice? Because we're always told, never, ever, 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 ever ask your mum. But who should you ask?
I would say trust your agent. If you've got an agent, trust your agent. I mean, the amount of clients that say, "Oh, I'd rather you didn't send the gallery to my agent because I'd like to pick." And I think it's like, they're your marketing manager, essentially. They're in charge of sending you out and putting you up for jobs. They need to have a say in what they're sending out. So I think trust your agent, let them have a look. You don't have to go with their choice, but at least there will be a dialogue and a conversation there. If they say, we like these shots, you say, okay, that's great, but actually I'd rather go with this one. There's a conversation to be had. So I think do trust your agent. And also we're really blessed by being surrounded by other actors that we're friends with or we've trained with. And it's a nice pool of people, even if it's just on WhatsApp. Just go, look, start a little group with like your 5 best actor mates and go, right, in all honesty, which of these 10 or 20 shots do you think is me? Or which of these 10 or 20 shots reflects this casting or this casting? But I think you've got to give people a criteria if they're helping you choose photos, because otherwise you will have that thing of people just going, oh my God, babes, you look so hot. Oh, it just becomes that vanity thing again. I've given up looking at any kind of headshots people post on any social media, whether it's my work or other people's work. Hey, just got some new headshots done. Because you look at the comments, no one ever goes, oh, I'm not sure about the one on the left. I'm not really sure that's you, Matt. They always just go, amazing, amazing, amazing. You look amazing. You look perfect. You look beautiful. It's this false social media thing. So it's not an honest feedback. I think you want to get your top 5 honest actor mates and then just set up a little headshot critique group that you can go through with them.
Yeah, such a good point. I try not to show my mum mine because it's always, oh, you look a bit like Brad Pitt in that one. I was like, I really don't.
Then it's framed and above the mantelpiece before you know it.
I mean, you say that, but it is. Oh, bless her. Nick, what's the process of someone like emailing you for headshots and then like the time and what happens in between?
Yeah, but
to getting in the room.
I think what you find is a lot of photographers now, including myself, they'll have booking systems, so you can actually see live diaries of what's available.
Okay.
So I've had a booking system for about 10 years now. It's been great. So people just come on, they can see exactly what's available, book a session, and then if they need to reschedule, it's dead easy. They can log in and reschedule whenever they want. So that's quite nice because I've got enough FAQs and info on the website that people kind of get a feel for what I do and how I shoot. And then if they want to message me, they can. But a lot of the time people are booking online and then get sent an automated kind of email with everything they need, info about clothing and, where I am, etc. And then, obviously turn up for the shoot. Galleries for me go online same day. And then it's a process of them just going through and choosing the retouches, and then once the retouches are done, they'll be uploaded for them to download and put on Spotlight and all the rest of it. And the retouches, a lot of the time, like people will put notes and things on the retouches when they order them. There's a little thing where you can add notes. It's a case of most people are pretty good actually, but there can be some people that will say, I want this photo and can you get rid of all my blemishes, all my spots, my mole on my left cheek? Can you make my eyebrows smaller and get rid of my, receding hairline or whatever? There's a limit, so I might email someone and kind of have a conversation, but most people are pretty good. Retouching essentially should be removing anything that is temporary. So if it's a big zit or a spot, then we can get rid of it. But and odd hairs and flyaway hairs, bits and pieces like that. A lot of the time it's just grading, so it's color balancing and things for me, and the retouching to make that photo stand out tends to be the process there.
Yeah. How has the experience of getting headshots taking headshots, how's that changed since you started, and can you see any changes happening soon, or what changes would you like there to be?
I think the best thing is choice now, like amazing choice of headshot photographers out there. that can be a good thing and a bad thing because it can really confuse people. I think the biggest change has probably been going from this kind of standard cropped up headshot to people shooting more what I would call a portrait. You know, it's more of a body shot, or it's more of something with a bit of a kind of like you'd see in GQ magazine or something like that, or Elle, like this kind of magazine shoot style. I think there's been a bit of a crossover there. But it gets that trouble with that, it gets a bit of a mixed review from casting directors sometimes. So, you know, a lot of the time they want to see a headshot because it's a natural representation of you, and a shot of you wearing a sexy coat, sat on a stool, looking off to the side into the distance doesn't show your look. So I think that's probably been the biggest change, really, is that style change in headshots. And there's nothing wrong with those shots. I think they're great as part of a portfolio. They're brilliant, but you need to have a mixed bag. You've got to have some shots that are just a kind of what I would call a standardized headshot style. Yeah, but I mean the choice is definitely there. It's great. I'm currently chairman of the Association of Headshot Photographers. We've got about 26 members. And it's great, and like all our members, they are so different in the way that they shoot and the style. It's incredible. I just look through and it's kind of inspiring and daunting from a photographer's point of view, because you're like, wow, I love what you shoot, and I love, how do you get that? This is amazing. It's been a really nice kind of community to be part of. But the APHP was set up really just to kind of offer people, you know, a good shopping list to work from when it comes to photographers. And you can kind of compare people's styles, which is really good.
Amazing. Well, that was a thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge. It's been great. And yeah, if anyone wants to book in with headshots, Nicholas Dawkes is your man.
Thank you very much, guys.
Definitely. We'll let you get off to, at the time of recording this, probably a bit late for homeschooling now, but I'm sure you can get some after school homework in with the little one. No. So
I'll have to go and let them out of their prison, I think. I've locked them in a cage.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our podcast.
We hope you enjoyed it and learned something.
We look forward to having you back in the room very, very soon.